Good afternoon. Welcome to this MCC live stream. And today we're focusing on ways to enhance modern foreign languages and teaching thereof with iPad. My name is Richard Child. I'm the Education Manager for MCC Digital. We're an Apple authorised education specialist, and we work with schools up and down the country, helping them to achieve impact with Apple devices, and iPad in particular. We know this as a magical device in the classroom, and we're going to show you some reasons why in the next hour or so. With me is Oscar Stringer, I'm delighted to say. Oscar is an Apple professional learning specialist. And Oscar, please tell us more about your experience and a little bit about what you're going to share with us this afternoon.
So I used to spend all my time in schools, but now I spend all my time standing in front of a laptop like this. And really, what I do is I show people the potential iPads can offer teaching and learning. And over the last 4 or 5 years, I've been running this Modern Foreign Languages iPad event that has just always been well received and loved. And there's something about the iPad, it's got lots of hidden secrets that make it an absolutely wonderful tool to enable students to practice, which really encourages that independent learning sort of habits that we really want to encourage in the students. So today it's a mix of looking at how the iPad can support lessons, how we can create things and not necessarily rely on the device purely as a way of consuming other people's content, but to produce and create our own that could help and support students, really, help you to differentiate, creating learning resources for students using Showbie to differentiate and give feedback, crucially, discrete feedback to the students. But there's an emphasis obviously on audio. And again, the iPad is just fantastic for recording, video, animation, creating books. We're going to look at ways of creating books. So I ought to stop talking really because we have got quite a lot to do.
Indeed. So we're going to have a look at some of the features that are built into the iPad itself with a particular slant on MFL. And as Oscar's correctly said, I think the key thing for me is the fact that the iPad, the microphone, the camera, just enable just a completely extra dimension to the way that children work and the way that teachers teach. So we're going to take a look at some of those amazing features built in by Apple. We're also then going to look at a few specific apps. Then we're going to look at workflow, which is very important. And Showbie in particular is something we're going to focus on for 10 or 15 minutes. And again, I think that's down to some of the features that allow verbal feedback, audio feedback, which for teaching language is extremely useful. Then we're going to have some fun with some puppets, with animation to bring work to life. And then we'll have a Q&A, and that will pretty much wrap us up for this afternoon. So without any further ado, I'm going to hand over to let Oscar share his magic. So please, over to you.
Brilliant. Thank you. Right, so I am going to go straight in actually and just share my iPad. And this is, I'm sharing it in a very similar way to the way you would share it with an Apple TV, or maybe you use Air Server in your class to wirelessly mirror what you're doing on the board. So this is my iPad that you're looking at now, and we're going to go straight into some of these settings that aren't that obvious. And I think as a way of now allowing students to practice on their own with the technology, these are a no-brainer. And really, it's just got better. It's just got better and better as time has passed. The voices and things are just really, really good. So I've opened up settings because the first thing we want to do, if you haven't done this, is to tap on General, then Keyboard, And at the top, it says keyboards. And you can see I've got 3 keyboards at the moment. So I'm going to add a new keyboard. I'm going to add a French keyboard. And I'm going to add French. I'm going to do this again just so you can see that I can add kind of as many keyboards as I need. Find maybe Spanish. Well, actually, we'll go to German. We'll add the German keyboard. But you could add Mandarin, Spanish, Russian, depending on the languages taught at your school. So you can see there are my keyboards. Now, I'm going to leave settings now just by pinching the screen. And I'm going to use notes to demo this, but you could use this with Pages and Keynote, Notes, any app really that allows you to type. I'm going to open up Notes, and I've got a blank note here. So if I just tap on the screen with one finger, it brings up the keyboard. Now, because I've added these new keyboards or these extra keyboards, I have the globe in the far left bottom corner of the screen. And there you can see these are the keyboards that I've added. So if I leave it on English for a moment, and I'm in the QWERTY keyboard, I'm now going to tap on the microphone by the space bar at the bottom of the screen. There'll be a beep, and then I'll start to speak. Good afternoon, comma. Welcome to my session, Enhancing Modern Foreign Languages with iPad, exclamation mark. And then tap, there's a little picture of a keyboard in the far bottom right of the screen. Tap on that to stop. Okay, so that's great. But what happens now if we select the French keyboard? And we'll select the microphone. Bonjour, comment tu t'appelles? Je m'appelle Oscar. Okay, so as long as I've got the pronunciation correct, the accent right, it will type it out. The iPad will type out what I speak. All right, so this is a fantastic tool to encourage students to maybe practice vocabulary. You could do this in class with microphones. Many of the earphones have that microphone built in. Talking to Samantha at the beginning of the session, and her students, they somehow come with their AirPods and use those. So this could be used in class. It can certainly be used at home. This would work on the iPhone absolutely brilliantly. So if students have got an iPhone, they could use it at home on their iPhone, but it is a great way to practice. Now, if I double tap on a word with one finger, I can look up that word by tapping on the word look up. So the dictionaries are all built in. So I get an English dictionary definition, I get the translation, and I get the French dictionary definition. So it's lovely, and it's just there, literally 2 taps. Also, if I select the sentence, I've now got an option called speak, and I can tap speak.
Bonjour, comment tu t'appelles? Je m'appelle Oscar.
So this is the bit that's got really good. I mean, it used to be quite painful, but it's got so much better in the last 2 or 3 years. And it does get better every year. It's something that Apple are obviously putting a lot of thought and effort into. So what I'd like you to do, I don't know, it's hard to see what you're doing, whether you're keeping up with me or not, but what I'd like you to do is to have a go, is to go to settings, add a keyboard that's relevant to the language that you teach, use the Siri feature, which is the microphone, record something, double tap on a word to bring up the dictionary, and then I'll show you how we turn on the speak selection. Okay, so I'm just going to give you 3 or 4 minutes to do that. Okay, and if you have any questions, do put them into the chat. Okay, if I'm going too fast, you can just tell Richard Oscar needs to slow down and he'll give me some kind of weird hand signal and I'll know what to do. But if you, so just want to give you time to have a go, have a play. If you've got any questions.
So while you're in your settings, adding those keyboards, I think it's worth mentioning that because this is actually within the iPad software itself, what that means is that this feature is accessible across all the different apps that you would use on the iPad. So it's not something that needs to be built in to each individual app. Once you've set this in your system settings, it'll work pretty much universally across your iPad. So whether you're putting typing into Pages, into the Notes app, or any other app, those keyboards will be available, as will the voices that we'll add when we look at the speech. But I think this is just a super feature that Apple enable, just enabling it across all the apps that are running on the iPad. It really is very useful. And the Notes app just keeps getting better and better, doesn't it, Oscar?
It does, actually. It really does. It's really good. Soon I can see lots of work happening just within Notes, because again, this note can be shared if needs be. But the students could be practicing their vocabulary and handing in a note. I'm not sure you can add an audio recording to it.
And as you said, Oscar, everything we're showing today on the iPad, pretty much if your students have iPhones, these features will work across iPad and iPhone.
Yeah. Absolutely. Good. So let me now show you how to turn on the speak feature, because that is something that normally needs turning on. So I'm going to leave Notes, open up Settings, and on the left column, we're looking for accessibility. And in accessibility, the top panel of options, there's one towards the bottom called spoken content. If I tap on spoken content, and we're going to turn on speak selection. I wouldn't turn on speak screen. I think highlight content is fantastic. So I always have that on words, and you can now add a color. I've got green as that sort of highlighted block as the iPad speaks the text. In terms of the speaking rate, I do think that this is quite a good spot for it, to be honest. If it gets too far, especially with Spanish and Italian, it's just crazy. So bringing down to sort of here is kind of my advice. And then voices. So you can select voices for the language that you've chosen. So there are different voices for different languages. Now I'm going to select French. And if there's a little picture of a cloud, that means it needs to be downloaded. So this is Nicolas. And if I just quickly download Nicolas, like so, it won't take very long. So that voice is downloading. Okay, I'm actually going to pause it because I wasn't really looking there, and that's actually for...
That's French Canadian.
Well, I'm not actually turning, that isn't on in my keyboard. So it doesn't matter. I've just used up 120 megabytes. So, or let's go for Real, like so. Oops, I'm on the wrong thing. There we go. Now, while that's downloading, you can see it's just downloading. The cloud is obviously telling us that it needs to be downloaded. If I tap on Thomas, you can see there is an enhanced Thomas. So this is a couple of things. Thomas sounds a bit better, and also Thomas is a little bit better at the pronunciation and things. So it's not just enhanced as in audio quality. I think he's also cleverer, if that is possible, because I think Apple are using AI to improve this particular technology. So students can download the voice of their choice. So it can be female or male. If I go back to spoken content and I select my notes like so. So what I'm going to do is just double tap on bonjour. So I could listen to bonjour.
Bonjour.
And then if I select, I mean, that does sound so good.
Bonjour, comment tu t'appelles? Je m'appelle Oscar.
All right. So if I now want to add a bit of punctuation, because I haven't added the punctuation, if I tap and hold one finger on the space bar, it turns the whole of the keyboard into this magic trackpad. This is one of those features that, again, is classically, not many people sort of know about it. It's a bit hidden. But what I could do is just add in tap and hold on the space bar. I've got the trackpad. I don't know if you can see this, but I'm moving the cursor now. I could put it absolutely anywhere. If I wanted to add, see, there should probably be a comma there. Okay, tap and hold on the space bar and move that around to there. So the whole, I'm just doing this a few times just so I know that what it. Okay. Any questions? Oops, any questions on that? On that area? Is there anything you'd like me to show you again in case I have been racing through everything?
All quiet on the chat so far. And I think it's worth just sort of reiterating about the voices. You know, a French voice will pronounce French words better, and if your phrase is in Italian, then the Italian, one of the Italian voices will do a better job of the pronunciation for that particular language.
So I'm just literally tapping.
Likewise, the dictation.
You can actually just tap and scroll through. You can see the keyboard's changing. So the English keyboard is very different. The French keyboard, the Italian keyboard is actually quite like ours. And then it gets very different with the German keyboard and the Russian keyboard. And the Mandarin keyboard, I mean, I have worked with some Chinese students that just think it's incredible. So let's move on to the next section. So what I'd like to do is, if I'm going to open up Safari now. So this is Safari, and I'm going to create a new tab, and into here, I'm just going to type in Le Mans. Okay. And this is a website that I would like my students to visit because we're going to look at an article. I'm just going to choose something quite random. All right, about supermarkets. So this is a really long URL. Now, depending on the setup of iPads and the technology in your school, you might post this link for the lesson into Google Classroom or OneNote or Showbie, okay, or even Classroom, Apple Classroom. But it might be that you've just come across this and you want to show the students quickly, and I'm going to create a link now for a QR code. So what I've done is I've just tapped once on that really long web address and tapped the word copy. And then I'm going to create a new website, or go to a new website rather, called QR Monkey. QR Code Monkey. All right, so this will make me a QR code and will make my QR codes. So what I'm going to do is just tap in here and delete that one, and tap once, tap twice. That's the really long Le Mans web address. Then tap return, You can see it's generated this new QR code. So what I'm going to do is just reverse pinch this. Now, if your iPad, your teacher iPad is mirrored to the front of the class, actually, I better move it away from, just make it a little bit smaller, actually. So so if your iPad is mirrored at the front of the class on a screen or a board, the QR code can be there. You could print it out and put it out on the table, create different colored QR codes, again, for differentiation if you needed. You could pin them up on the board. But all you need to do as my students now is open up the camera app and just wave the camera in front of the QR code. You don't need to take a picture. You'll get a little notification at the top of the screen, and by tapping on that, you'll be instantly directed to that web page.
Just done it on my phone. It works a treat.
Brilliant. Yeah. So you can create...
Just accepted some French cookies.
So the QR code will, it will live forever, so to speak. So if there are particular websites that you and your students visit a lot, you could create QR codes for them and have them tucked away somewhere safe in the drawer and put them out to start lessons. Obviously, QR code is used for Quizlet, in case you've ever used Quizlet, which is a fantastic quiz app for MFL. Also, you can make these, because I've just copied and pasted essentially from one website address into QR Code Monkey. You could just make these on your PC at the front of the class. You don't have to make them on the iPad. It's just the students accessing them on the iPad is the killer feature, really. You can make them on anything. I mean, you could make them on your phone on the bus and go into work if you wanted to. But it's just a very quick way of creating that focused research or investigation, rather than saying, would you please Google and find a particular, because it just goes wrong. So that's a QR code. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to have a go at this. And just very quickly, find a web address, copy, paste into QR Code Monkey, make that QR code. If you're feeling brave, you could put it onto the screen if you want to, for me and Richard to scan. But if I give you 4 minutes to have a play with QR codes, because also, if you think that you feel very confident and you're storming ahead with this, you can tap on set colors and you can change the color. So here, for example, you could, you can differentiate and you can create different colored QR codes. So maybe you have blue QR codes for sort of difficult, or no, actually, that's rubbish. Let's make it red. We'll have a red one for difficult. So maybe for the top end, in the students in your class, you have a red QR code. So I'm just tapping on create QR code to change the color. Or you have another one that's more sort of green, because it's a little bit easier. Don't let the colors get too light, because if it gets very yellow, for example, the cameras kind of struggle to differentiate between the yellow and the white of the pattern. This is kind of one of the things that I've discovered. If you want to get really cool, you could add an image, maybe the school logo or something fun like that, if you wanted to. So this is a free app. It's absolutely fantastic. And then what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go back. I'm just going to change the color of this and make it a little bit darker. But if I just reverse pinch on the screen now, I want to save this because I know it's a website that my students are going to visit a lot. And I think I'll just, I might put it up in front of the next class. Yeah. So another year 7 class is coming in later on in the afternoon. So I want to save this. So what I'm going to do is just do a screenshot. So depending on which iPad you've got, I expect it's probably the on-off button and the home button. Press them together quite quickly to take a screenshot. If you've not done that before, like so, there's my screenshot. And what I can do is by dragging, I can just neatly trim this like so. Make sure you don't cut any of the code out. And then if I tap on the word done in the top left corner and save to photos, that's saved to the camera roll. And, you know, I've got that for my year 7 class, my other year 7 class this afternoon, you know, later on in the day. Okay. Another thing, you still with me? You still there?
Keep going. Yep.
Yeah.
No questions in the chat yet, so we'll assume everyone's creating their first QR code, and if not, please do just pop something in the chat, and we can go through something again if we need to.
Yeah. So the other thing that I think is really fantastic, so this QRCodemonkey.com website for making QR codes, you might think, oh, I'm going to use this a lot. So tapping on the share arrow in the top right of the screen, okay, there's loads of options there. To save this QR Code Monkey website to my device, I'm going to tap on the bottom one, add to home screen. Can you see that? Add to home screen. So I tap on add to home screen. I'm just going to leave it as it is, then tap on the word add. And you can see now on my home screen here, it looks like an app icon. But this is basically a really cool shortcut to that website for me to just quickly access, make a QR code with 2 taps, and it's done. Okay, so that's for creating shortcuts, and you can do that with any web page. I often show that to students so they can create a shortcut to the school website and things like that. Okay, all good? Excellent. So we've directed the students to Le Mans very quickly. We want them to, maybe while the class is settling down and people are coming in, you know, students could maybe start to read a piece of news that's relevant. And maybe the students could pop in their earphones. And if I just double tap on that first word, I'm not going to do the whole paragraph. I'll just do a couple of lines. But they could listen.
Des pommes rôties viennent d'être soigneusement rangées sur leur gondole au milieu des fruits et légumes, face à l'armoire.
Okay, so they could start to listen to that news article. Maybe they could start translating it, whatever you wanted to do. And it needn't be that. It could be any website. Is my point. I've just chosen that one just because it's a really good website. Yeah, but it could be any website that you use for your lessons. So I'm also going to show you the screenshot feature again, because what I'm going to do is grab. I think I'll leave the picture in it and that first paragraph. Okay, and what I'm going to do now is take another screenshot. Okay, so I'll take another screenshot. There's my screenshot in the bottom left of the screen. So I'm going to tap on it. Yep. Got a little bit of delay there. There we go. So there's my screenshot. And what I'm going to do is just to trim, get rid of the advert. I can just trim it very quickly. Again, if my iPad is being mirrored at the front of the class, you can do this really quickly. The students can see. I can reverse pinch if I need to, just by pinching on the screen to sort of bring up the text, like so. And I can use a highlighter, and maybe as an exercise at the front of the class, you can highlight the particular words. What's the word for supermarket? And the students could maybe find the words or find the verbs, find the connectives, find things out for themselves. So they could be doing the screenshot piece if you wanted them to. You could be demonstrating it, but essentially very quickly, they can look for the fruit, the veg, or the, yeah. So if I tap on the word done in the top left, like so, and save to photos, like so, that's been saved to photos, and the students can hand that in, and we're going to look at that a little bit later. Okay. So Markup is a fantastic tool. And it can be used in all sorts of different ways. That's obviously working with the website, working with the speak option, using the built-in dictionary again. If I wanted to, I could tap on a word, select lookup, and we can get the English dictionary definition for a word just by tapping on it, select lookup. So those features, as Richard mentioned, they work across the apps. They're not just for an app. It's part of the operating system, so it's there for everything. Okay. Have you got any questions? Because what I am going to do here, I'm just going to stop sharing because I've got a huge delay. So if you have any questions, now is a good time to ask. So I'm just going to stop my share and I'm going to redo my share because the delay is annoying me. So if you've got any questions, please, now is a good time to ask while I just bring my iPad. No questions? I hope you're all there. It's all a bit weird when no one speaks. It's like having a very quiet class. It's just not quite right. Okay, good. So I've just got rid of it. There was a delay there that was bugging me a bit.
Oscar, just on that, we highlighted a couple of sentences and asked it to speak. I thought it was a bit fast, the pronunciation. So remind us again how we would slow that down a little bit.
Good one. Okay. So go back to settings. Select accessibility. Select spoken content. Speak selection is on. And I'm going to now drag this marker, this one here, towards the tortoise to slow down that speak rate.
Speak selection reads selected content.
So a word of warning is when you show the students this, the one thing they love is that little message that is spoken. It kind of
speak selection.
So you might just have to give them
selected content.
30 seconds to turn this on, and then that's it. Because yeah, huge amounts of fun is had. So if I go now back to Le Mans, let's see if that's worked for you, Richard.
Des pommes rutilantes viennent d'être soigneusement rangées sur leur gondole au milieu des fruits et légumes.
Yeah,
that felt much more natural. Thank you.
And it could be slowed down even more if it helps. I mean, I think that's a really good point. If students are struggling with the speed of things, they could slow it right down. And again, it's encouraging the students to view the device as a tool.
It's their tool.
You know, it's their tool, it's personalized learning. It's how they use it really as a device.
Indulge me one more time. Can you change to a different voice? Let's hear what that sounds like.
And let's go to, so if we go to settings, accessibility, spoken content, voices, French, let's select Thomas, enhance Thomas, and go back to the website. And I do think actually as well, I think it will sound also a little bit better when it's not going through so many different wireless networks and things.
Mm-hmm.
There is definitely a bit of delay kicking in, unfortunately. What happened there? Yeah, I don't know what's happened there.
We're pushing Zoom to its limits. Never mind. But yeah, once you change the voice, the student can sort of just have it at their preference: fast, slow, male, female, and several different voices to choose from as well. So very personalised.
Yeah, exactly. Good. All good there, folks? So we're going to look at another feature of Markup very, very quickly. And I'm going to now type into search cartoon image of man and woman meeting. That is a little bit risky, but if I put cartoon image, oh, that's good. Here we go. So if I tap on...
Oscar, I think you might just want to stop and start your screen sharing again. I think my voice request was just a little bit too much.
Yeah, that is weird, isn't it? I wonder why that is. Okay. Let's. Oh, we've got something in the chat here. Thank you. That was really useful. Good. Okay. So, screen share. iPad. All right. Okay. So, this is something that the students could do, maybe really to bring a script to life. Maybe they've written it out in their books traditionally, and now they're going to bring it to life. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this first image of the man and woman just kind of waving at each other. Okay, and here, what I'm going to do is just tap, press and hold, and you can see now I've got the option to add to photos from this sub menu. So I'm showing you this because people, it's not something that people do much of, and you can just add images. You can use pictures from the internet to sort of create resources, and the students can use them as well, and it's dead easy to do. So that is now, if we go to photos, that image is now saved to photos. Okay, it could be that they take a photo of each other actually. You know, they could just take pictures of one another just waving in the class. So what I'm going to do is tap on the word edit. So in photos, the word edit takes us to this area here, and classically the most useful thing is hidden behind another button, and it's hidden behind the ellipsis, which is in the top right of the screen, and this is called Markup. Okay, this is Markup. And again, we've looked at Markup because we quickly marked up the website, looking for words, finding vowels, connectives and things. But here, if I tap on the plus, there's a little plus icon just here, and I'm going to use now the speech bubbles. And I can basically add speech bubbles to my picture. So this could be any picture, all right? So maybe the students, they can create, I can move the arrow around a little bit, okay? And if I now tap on plus text and tap into here, double tap, I could use the microphone. Bonjour, comment tu t'appelles? Okay, so that shows you what happens. All right, so that doesn't work. Let's go to the French keyboard. Whoops. Bonjour, comment tu t'appelles? Okay, so I can move that around. It might even be quicker just to type that, but I'm just going to do that. Like so, and we've got a little speech bubble going. It doesn't take very long for the students to start to create something. And we can add audio to this. I think that's the kind of reason why I'm making this, is because very quickly we can create something here. Now, this could be a teaching resource. It could be that you're using this as a teacher to create a resource that you know you'll use 3 or 4 times a year with particular classes. So I'm going to tap on the word done in the top right hand side of the screen, and then tap on the word done again. There are 2 dones, and both of those dones save it. 2 dones save it to the camera roll. Okay, so this is now saved to the camera roll, and we're going to come back to that a little bit later and enhance it further. So that's really sort of part 1 of this webinar. We've looked at the keyboard, speech to text, adding keyboards rather. We've used the dictionaries. We've used the speak content, looking at all the options there for adding voices, slowing down the rate of speech. We've created a QR code. We've used Markup to create a resource that we're going to further enhance with audio recordings. Any questions? All good?
I think that's great. Yeah, we're all good. And Rachel kind of pointed out that the word lookup feature is dependent on the correct keyboard for that particular language being selected.
But did you notice I hadn't done that? That's exactly right. I was still in English, and it came up with something like "come on then, Neil" or something. I don't know. But anyway, you do. So it's good. It just shows that it works. You've just got to be on the ball, students. But they'll be in their French keyboard. It'll be part of their French lesson. They'll know that they have to turn on. And then another thing that they can also do. This might be something that you would do with the older ones, and I do just have to remember actually how to do this. But if we select on general, I'm not going to do this, I'm just going to show you, select on languages and region. If you wanted to, the students could, for your French lesson, they could make their iPad French if you wanted them to. All right, so it means restarting the iPad. It only takes a minute or two to restart these iPads now. They're very good, they're very quick. But it could be that this is something you do with the older students, that they come to your lesson and the first thing they do is just turn their iPad into a French iPad. What used to be one of the pranks that students played on each other in the early days of this was turning each other's iPads into a sort of Chinese or Japanese iPad, which kind of made fixing things a little bit trickier. But there's no reason why for German, French, Spanish, the students couldn't be working with the iPad from that language. And it literally just means swapping it back. And it's just a restart. I'm not going to do it now because I think that's one that you can look at with maybe, older students. Good. So the next app we're going to look at, this app is called Showbie. All right. So I've got a bit of some instructions before I open up Showbie. I'm going to ask you to sign up for free. All right. So when you open up Showbie, if you haven't already got an account, it will ask you to sign up for free. And I'd like you to sign up as a student because there can be only one teacher. Okay. And today it's me. So you're going to be the students. I'll show you the teacher view. You can see the student view. But do sign up as a student. Just make up any random username. It won't matter. You probably won't use this ever again. Don't use your school email and don't add an email. All right. You don't have to add an email for this. It's really just to get you in to Showbie as a student. Okay. So sign up for free. Only as a student, just a random name. Don't worry about the name really. And don't add an email. Okay. So I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to do that. So using Showbie. We've got a couple of chats there. All right. So now I'm going to open up Showbie as a teacher. All right. You are going to be my students. So I'm just going to open up Showbie now. And you can see here are all of my classes, or some of my classes. So I'm going to create a new class by tapping on this monkey wrench spanner thing in the top of the screen. I'm going to create a new class, and I'm going to call this class, I'm in an English keyboard, MCC MFL PM. Okay. And it's generated a code which is R8JJ9. I can't believe that. Let's do MCC French. Okay. All right then. I think we're going to have to go back to this one. Did you see that, Richard? You didn't see that, did you? Got a bit of an error message from Showbie.
I'm trying to join it saying it's not a valid class code, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. QZRYF.
So what we're going to do then is we're going to use the old one that we created this morning. So your code is, oops, did you see that? The code is, Chris saw it. The code is QZRYF. QZRYF. QZRYF.
Working for me. I'm in.
And Rachel and Chris. I'm not sure how many to expect, actually. Samantha, obviously. How many in the chat? How many in the lesson? I can't see how many people we've got, Richard.
We have 7 attendees at the moment.
Okay. QZRYF, for those of you. So you'll be prompted.
It may be that not everybody's got Showbie on, so
yeah, I'm going to see if I can delete some of this while we just wait for people. Let me just delete some of this. This was this morning's work, and I don't want to. You can see that I'm deleting some of the content. I do want this to be a clean lesson for you.
So just while you're doing that, Oscar, there's a question from Chris, which is, what would be the best Showbie alternative for secondary and why? Can you add feedback to all the class at once, like rubrics on Teams, etc.? Thanks.
So you can. So whatever I put into shared items, the whole class gets. If I select just Chris, whatever I put into here, only Chris will see. Okay, so shared items is the whole class. Now, I don't know, Samantha might be able to help us with this question because did you ask for an alternative, Chris? Is that the question, Richard?
Chris's question was, is there an alternative? What's the best Showbie alternative for secondary? I guess my first response to that would be Showbie's great for secondary and primary.
It is great for secondary and primary. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's perfect for secondary and primary. If it's because you don't want to use rubrics, you can. What's rubrics?
So a form or a grading form. Yeah. Chris, perhaps if you email afterwards, we can have a more detailed discussion about Showbie. Speaking generally, Showbie is one of many classroom workflow solutions. Examples include Microsoft Teams, Google Classroom. There's an app called SparkJar. There's an app called Seesaw, and to varying degrees, they all achieve the same task, which is this workflow of putting students into a class, popping some resources online so that they can access those wherever they are, and then giving you as teachers, the means to see who's handed the work in and tools to mark and assess. So we're using Showbie this afternoon. Feedback from a lot of the schools that we work with is that Showbie is an incredible, easy to use product. But speaking frankly, I don't really mind what workflow a school uses, as long as the teachers are happy using it and the students are happy using it. So there are some choices, and we can, Chris, I can send some links to the various different ones that you can take a look at, and perhaps organise trials for one or more of them. Yeah, Showbie is what we're looking at today.
And I think so. And one of the, I think, Samantha, you might be able to confirm this, but my understanding is that with Google Classroom, you can't add voice recordings. Is that right? Because I know in Samantha's school, they do use Google Classroom.
No, you can, if you record it on an iPad or something, on an app, you can then upload it. It does work.
Okay, so you'd have to record it and then put it in. Okay, that's fine. Okay. All right. And Rachel saying you can use and add something called Moat.
All good tips. All
good tips, yeah. For the Google Classroom. Right, brilliant. Thank you, Rachel. Yeah. So as you say, I mean, it's a mixed bag. I think one of the things about Showbie is everything is just kind of there. And the students can access it from home if they needed to. So everything I put, so if I tap on, so I can write a comment here, and this could be an instruction, or it could be, so here it could be, right, let's translate. And it could be that it's, and that's gone to everybody. Or if I just select Chris, I could, give Chris a comment to just check that he's okay or she's okay. But if I tap on the plus here, I can scan a document, create a new document. I can go to the photo library, and I could bring in that work that we quickly annotated. All right. So the students, if they had worked on annotating a document, looking for keywords, maybe it was a poem, maybe it was some work from their book, anything can be kind of put in here. But the crucial bit really is, and that's just uploading that photo. The crucial bit here is voice notes. So here I can tap the record button, and I can immediately create a voice note. Maybe I'm reading a passage, maybe it's something you want the students to listen to and they can translate. Tap stop, tap post, and that's uploading now. So we've got a photo, the voice note is uploading. If I want to, I can also go back to the plus, and I could record video by selecting the camera. Okay, so essentially it's very similar to Google Classroom, things like that, where you can put everything in very simply, and the students can access that. They can work on it, or they could work from it. They can listen to something. Maybe their homework is listening and translating. Maybe you want them to upload an audio recording of them speaking and practicing their vocabulary. Here, Richard has added something. I can see that Richard's added something because of the paperclip. So that's a sign that Richard has added something. And we can just keep adding to it over the course of the term, or maybe the module. Depends how you choose to set up your assignments. So this is one assignment, and if I want to, I can create, by tapping on the spanner at the top, I can create a new assignment that would live here, maybe for the next term or the next academic year, and the students. So it's a place for sharing content from both teacher and students. So, and it's also a great way to give students feedback. So Richard has added something. So what I can do is tap on the plus, and I can say to Richard, fantastic work, Richard. Well done. Really liked it. and hope that you can continue this work this term. Okay, so that's now uploading. So we can give, so that was just, no, that voice note is just going to Richard. If I wanted to give the whole class, as I said, an instruction, I could record it, make a video, an audio recording, put in something, and the students can access it. And they don't have to have an iPad. So this, because it's a web app essentially, if they were at home and they only, you know, they had a PC or a phone, they could access the content on that device. So, you know, the web apps tend to be platform agnostic. It's not just about having a particular set of devices. But what we'll do is we will come back to this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave Showbie. We'll come back to Showbie, but I'm going to now select an app called Puppet Pals. Okay, so I'm using the paid for version. You can use the free version. It's a little bit limited. The paid for version is like £2, I think, or $2.99. But there are so many animation apps on the App Store. And I did work with a modern foreign languages teacher in a school a few years ago. And her approach was not to necessarily prescribe the app. It's not really, that wasn't her approach. Her approach was find an animation app of your choosing, and I'd like you to bring to life this piece of written work that you've done in your books and present it as an animation, which I thought was a really good approach, actually. So rather than the emphasis being on the class teacher to prescribe apps, the students can, if they can, is to get the app and then create something that is, and that way you see a variety of different things and the students can have a huge amount of fun, and it gets quite competitive. It's good fun. So I'm going to tap press to start. And with this particular app, I can make a puppet from anything. So here I've made a puppet from a plastic bottle and Florence Nightingale, Henry VIII, or the fairy tale characters come with the app. I'm going to use two pirates. Okay. And then I tap on the word next. And then I'm going to select a background, tap on the word next again. And here you can see I can move, double tap, reverse pinch. I can move these pirates around if I want to. Okay, like so. So as soon as I tap the red record button, the app will record everything I say and do. Et bonjour, comment tu t'appelles? Je m'appelle Jack Sparrow. Grande. Je suis petit. Okay, so very quickly, the students can just bring to life, have a bit of fun with some traditional writing that they've done, and they can then present that. Et bonjour, comment tu t'appelles? Je m'appelle Jack Sparrow. Grande. Je suis petit. Okay. Now what I'm going to do now is save that to app and export it to the camera roll. So I just tapped on save and then export quickly. But as I said, there are loads. There's one called Sock Puppets that's great fun, that's free. You know, it's just good fun, and it's sort of taking it on from finger puppets that used to be used in schools. But I've seen teachers use this app with sixth formers studying geography and using it as a way of explaining globalization, which is a stroke of genius, because if you can turn some understanding of something really complicated like globalization and reduce it down to a well-structured, short economic cartoon, it really proves that you understand the topic. I think that's an area, and it's very similar. Samantha was saying that they used to use a comic app for making comics, and again, students showing their understanding through making comics. Right, so if I now go back to Showbie, and in my shared items, and I tap on the plus, and I select photo library, go to all photos and select, tap done. That, it's only, I'm going to trim that actually. I can trim that. That's a very good feature. Tap done. And that's now, that animation is now uploading to Showbie. So students, and I think this is the killer feature for the Showbie type apps, is that they act as a bridge. They act as that connective bridge between the student and the teacher. So when the students create something that's digital, they can hand it in and it's saved. And I think that's the crucial bit, because if they're not saved, they can't be assessed, they can't be celebrated, can't have fun. At the moment, that's called library movie, which isn't very helpful. But if I just tap on the words library movie, I've now got a very traditional iPad submenu, and I'm going to tap on rename at the top. And I'm going to call this the Pirates. Tap done. Okay. And that's now saved into the class for everybody. So a fantastic way. So if now the students feel like, oh, I'm running out of space on my iPad, miss, I've got to delete stuff. It's not a problem, because it's in Showbie. It's in the cloud, it's saved, it's safe. And if the students need to access it at home, they can. Okay, so good fun with Puppet Pals. And as I said, there are lots of different apps, sock puppets. There's another one here, which is good fun, called Chatterpix. I won't show that now. It's a freebie. You can download that one. You'll work it out in 2 seconds. But again, it could be used as a starter. It's a way of bringing like oranges to life, or inanimate objects. Instead of kind of animating some pirates or fairy tale characters, you can bring cups to life, for example. Give them a voice, essentially. All right. So now, as our last idea, we're going to look at Pages. Okay. So Pages is Apple's equivalent to Word, for word processing and lots of other things, creating posters, CVs, books, reports. All right. And it's kind of in recent times, in the last year or so, it's been sort of updated to do Epub a little bit better. Now I'm wondering if there's because you talked about Samantha doing cartoons. I don't think there is a cartoon template. No, there isn't. That's a shame. These are books. So we're going to create a book. And the reason for creating a book, an EPUB book, EPUB stands for electronic publication. And Apple, of course, have made their EPUB format a little bit more versatile than maybe other formats. So with an Apple EPUB, you can add audio recordings, you can add video, you can add hyperlinks. You can create a book full of wonderfully rich content. So I'm going to select blank book from Pages, and I am going to call this, we'll just call this French. I just call it French, actually. Okay, and I'm going to add that picture from the camera roll, okay, like so. And again, this could be a picture that the students have chosen, and they've added the speech bubbles. You could also add the speech bubbles here if you wanted to. It's all under, if I go to image, I'm going to come away from that actually. But under the paintbrush, you can add under shapes, speech bubbles and things here. There's a speech bubble if you wanted to. But what I wanted to show was adding audio recording. So tapping on the media, which is this one here, I can tap add record audio, tap on record at the bottom. Bonjour, and tap insert, and that audio goes there. Okay, so I can populate the page with audio recordings. Tap here again, record audio. Bonjour, comment tu t'appelles? Tap insert and pop that over there like that. Okay, so very, very simple. It could be that it gets a little bit more ambitious as the book progresses. But if I tap on blank book at the top here and tap rename, I'm just going to call this and I'm going to delete these pages. So just tapping on them and holding to delete a page. And to add a page, I'm going to select blank. And I'm going to now, I could add the Puppet Pals animation if I wanted to, like so. So really, this becomes almost like a container for the student's work. And again, the dictionaries and everything are built in if the students needed to do it. But it could be that the students use it as a way of creating a portfolio type document during the course of the term or the year. It could be that as a teacher, you start to make a book that helps students that they can use, and you kind of make it as you go during the course of the year. So that first year, you would be making quite a few books, but the following years, you would kind of be in clover because you would have all of this, and you can sort of send them out via Showbie or whichever of those solutions that you use. But because I've named it, this is kind of crucial, naming the book, all right? Because I want to show you a couple of things here. If I just tap on the share and export options first. So first of all, I'm going to export this as an Epub. Tap export. It's going to create an Epub. And first of all, I just want to show you what it looks like in books. All right, so books is Apple's equivalent to well, it's for you know, for reading the Epub. It's how you can download books and audio books from the bookstore. It used to be called iBooks. Tap on books, and there's the book. And I can turn the pages so the students can consume the book on their devices. So I can tap and listen bonjour to the audio. Okay, very, very simply. So the book that's baked, essentially, it's finished, can be consumed. This is one way of doing it in the app Books. If I go back to Pages, I can continue working on that book if I wanted to, and add to it and export it out again to Books. Or what I could do, maybe I want the students to add to this book now. All right, so I need to share this book with my students. So I'm going to tap on Showbie. I'm going to tap on my class, select the assignment, select share with everyone, tap add file. So now this book is being saved as a Pages document that the students can pull off Showbie and add to. If you want them to start adding to this book, you maybe have got them started. This is what you're expecting. Some pictures, text, audio as a way of helping them create a revision resource, And I think when students make things like this, it really helps cement concepts and things. It's a really good way of helping students remember things, is when they can create and present back and show their understanding. Or what I can do is I can tap on to share, export, Epub, and put this book this time. I'm going to do it. I'm doing kind of sharing 2 books to Showbie. Share with everyone. So this book, the students could consume and look at and listen to within Showbie, as you'll see. Just out of interest, while this is cooking and baking and things, how many of you have got Book Creator? How many of you use Book Creator in school?
Because we've got a few takers there.
Yes, so Chris's school. So Samantha, right, I'm going to show you. Okay, and Marie, okay, so that looks like nearly everyone. I'm going to show you.
It is probably the first paid app I recommend to schools, to be fair. But as Pages, Numbers, and Keynote have got so much better, it's you can pretty much all of this in Keynote and Pages now, can't you?
You can. You really can. But so
I can immediately create a voice note.
Let's just stop that. So this is my shared items, and you can see, if I refresh the screen, what's interesting about the Epub is the Epub shows up as a book. So I can just tap on it and scroll through the pages and consume that book. And I can also write on it. I can annotate it, which is fantastic. So that, you could create a book that you want the students to work on using these annotation tools. Tap on the word done. That's saved. Or the students can open up, they can tap on the Pages book and they can open it up and they can work on it in Pages. It depends. I mean, yeah, the choice is brilliant, really. It's absolutely brilliant.
I think, yeah, sorry to interrupt, Oscar, but yeah, as you correctly said, you can build up a set of work or a set of projects over time, and it becomes a digital learning journal. Or the other way you can do it, of course, is if you're collaborating with the class on one particular activity during one lesson, you could maybe say, 1 page per pupil and do it that way. So everybody sort of submits their interpretation of the work or the project, and then the teacher then collates it in Pages as a portfolio of the class's work rather than a portfolio of an individual's work over time. There's all kinds of ways you can do this, isn't there?
Yeah, there are. And that's a really good example, actually. So you can have chapters of a book. So when you're doing areas like my family, there could be a chapter for my family, or for colours, my pets. And it's a way of it's a way of kind of taking everything out of the school book. The students obviously will work in their school books, but they can enhance that work, that traditional work, with these activities and have somewhere to save them, as Richard said. So I haven't exited Showbie. I'm just going to leave it because before this session began, Samantha was saying they used to use an app. They used to use an app called, what was your cartoon app, Samantha? I can't remember what you called it. There used to be several.
Comics Head.
Sorry?
It's called Comics Head. It doesn't exist anymore.
A few of them did disappear, didn't they? So Book Creator, for those of you that have got Book Creator, allows you to do a very similar thing to Pages. If the students are already using it, it will work in exactly the same way, but you do have that added bonus of being able to create comics. As you can see, I've kind of done it here with Romeo and Juliet. Just very quickly created a comic by tapping on New Book and choosing one of the comic templates, like so. You can create your cover. You can add panels. So we'll go for something like this. But again, it's a lovely way for students to create a resource that's linked to that traditional learning by taking photos, downloading images. It could be Lego people, have some great fun with Lego people, you know, finding their way around Paris and things. Great fun, really quick. And maybe if you're in a school that is one-to-one, the students can do this as a sort of a homework task. It's getting them set up so they feel comfortable with adding the characters and things. Can I find, there's my Lego man. We can put the Lego man in and we can add a speech bubble like so. Very quickly you start to create a comic. If I want to add, there are some fun shapes and things that can be added. We want to add the page, you can add that in the background. So there's loads there that the students can do. And again, it's really a question then of sharing this as an Epub, again into Showbie. And the students can either work on it, work from it, add to it. Okay, in this very similar way that I showed you with pages. So that's it. I'm kind of coming to the end now, at nearly 10:02. So we've got time for some questions. If you want me to show you anything else again, I can, but this has been an overview really, and it just sort of scratches the surface of those themes of practicing, creating, sharing, and feedback, using the technology to, you know, to sort of enhance areas of MFL in a fun and meaningful way, really bringing out the language lab elements of the iPad that can be a bit hidden and secret. So if you've got any questions, now's a good time to pop them into the chat. Oh, there is something there from Marie. The core monkey thing. Yeah, sure. Core monkey. It's QR code. Okay, it's QR code. Let me just share my screen. Right. Okay, so I'll open up Safari first. Just close down these tabs. All right, I'm going to tap on the plus for a new tab. I'm just going to type in QR code monkey. All right, you shouldn't, yeah, QR code monkey will get you there. So the URL goes into this area here. Whatever the website is, you copy and paste into here. So if I just show you that now, a new tab in Safari, and we'll just go for a little more. Okay. So I'm going to tap once, one finger, just tap on Le Mans in the top. Tap again. Tap copy. And go back to QR code monkey. And in here, I'll just delete. Tap once, then tap the word paste. And hit the return key. Tap the return key on the keyboard, like so. And that QR code is now the link to Le Mans. To change the color, if you want to differentiate, just select your color in this box, tap the word create QR code, and reverse pinch. Okay, so if I just move that out of the way, you can now scan that QR code. Okay, Marie?
Excellent. They are a quick and easy way, aren't they, of sharing or getting a class to the same web page, which can be a challenge. And I've seen URLs written on whiteboards, physically written with marker pens, http://. Yes, it can take you 10 minutes to get a class to a web page. Whereas now, of course, we have tools like this, which are huge time savers. So thank you, Oscar.
Any other questions? No other questions. Okay.
Excellent. We've covered so much in this almost 90 minutes. So I will just wrap up then with a few bits and pieces and some resources that you can utilize as you sort of take this journey forwards. So thank you, Oscar, again. Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. So the first resource to share with you is Apple Teacher. So Apple Teacher is Apple's free online program for CPD for teachers. There are two QR codes on this slide. The upper QR code there is an overview of the program. And basically you work through modules at your own speed, at your own pace. There's a set of modules for iPad, a set of modules for Mac, and then also, all kinds of different topics to choose from. You work through a set of modules and you will gain the Apple Teacher accreditation. The lower QR code on this page is the all-important sign-up page. So you can sign in with your Apple ID. So that's your iTunes account, your Apple TV account, your Apple Music account, your Apple Fitness account. There's all kinds of reasons to have an Apple ID. And just use that to sign in, identify yourself as a teacher, and start working through those modules. It's, as I say, it's free. You can just do it at your own pace. And a lot of the things that Oscar talked about, things like the accessibility features, pages, Keynote, the other Apple apps, there's a lot of detail there. And it is fast becoming a hub for best practice and other resources as well. There's a great section about augmented reality that they've added in the last couple of months. So do take a look at Apple Teacher. Now, coming back to languages, here at MCC, we're just launching today a MyLearn iPad Language Lab. And, if what we've seen from Oscar excites us and it's something we want to bring into the classroom, then we've prepared this sort of ready-made bundle for you. So it includes 30 iPads, obviously in rugged cases and with screen protection, the management software to deploy the apps to the iPads, a charging trolley to store them and move them around, microphones and headphones, very important as we've seen for the verbal activities and exercises. We're also including a Showbie subscription for the teacher or teachers, and access to Oscar's Furnished Learning MFL online course. Oscar, would you just want to just say a few words about what that entails?
So that entails essentially more lessons, more ideas, more apps for enhancing your MFL lessons with iPad. Essentially, the course that I normally run is a day. And I've sort of squeezed as much as I can into 90 minutes, and the rest and more is in Furnished Learning, and we add to it. And it's a fully fledged learning management system. So
fantastic.
Students can add, earn certificates.
Excellent. And as part of this language lab, you would also get 3 either on-site or virtual CPD sessions to support you. So we've got the iPads, we've got the means to deploy the apps, we've got the other bits and pieces, the microphones, etc., and access to a workflow and access to supporting CPD both online and or in person, all part of the bundle. And we offer this on a 3-year subscription, and all of that works out at just £355 per month for that set of 30 iPads and all that support. So if that's of interest, or a school that maybe would be keen to talk to us about that, do drop us a line at education@mccdigital.com, and we'd love to take that conversation forward, see where we can help. That is it. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll drop a note out after the this webcast with links to those resources, and we will be posting this onto the MCC YouTube channel. So if you know colleagues who perhaps weren't able to make it today, they can go through that again at their own pace. That's the great thing about online resources, is it not? So thanks again for joining us. And I think that's about it from me. Oscar, any final words?
No, lovely to meet you all so virtually. And yeah, if you have any questions, you can always just drop me a line.
Excellent. Thank you so much, everybody. Hope you've enjoyed it. We'll see you again soon.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.